So guys, it's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? What day is it? It's Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday, today is Tuesday. And I have a client call today. I have my last client call of my contract, and that's at 2 today. So a little after 11. And so I've got a little bit of time to kill, and I'm all prepared and everything. Like, everything's ready for handoff, and like I've been even working ahead a little bit. I am gonna go get something to eat, probably call my mom, and then I'm gonna go to Target because I realized, like, you know, as I'm packing my like hospital bag and everything, which I think I'm gonna show you guys in this video. I haven't started yet. I have nothing to show you yet, but I am getting things that, you know, I need for it, kind of, you know, in a collective pile Aries style, and I'll show it to you guys as we go. And then, but yeah, I thought I'd go to Target. We're out of paper towels, but also we don't have like baby wipes, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm working on my 37th week right now. I have plenty of friends whose pregnancies didn't go this long. So like, I figure I might as well go ahead and be prepared. So, I mean, I fully anticipate he's gonna like go past due, because that's just how my life works. You know how your life works? Like, that's just how my life works. You know, make plans, God laughs, but still, yeah. Here's the outfit. Very few things fit me right now, and you can tell by the gasping that I'm doing that a sports bra, it's not perfect. Yeah, there's almost like no getting around the camel toe situation because everything's just gathering at this point. And then this is constricting me a little bit, but it's hard to find kind of clever clothes right now because all of my dresses have gotten too short. A lot of them are in the wash, and also, I don't know, I just wanted to mix it up a little bit. So got a little bit of an actual ensemble going on today. There's the 36-week bump. You guys have seen it. Let's go. Hello, dudes. The last clip that I filmed, you saw me say something to the effect of, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And then later that day, at about 7:15 in the evening, my water broke. And it's now almost 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 30th of September. We were supposed to have a baby October 26th, and we are having a baby probably in 30 minutes. It has been a lot. It has been a lot. And I will be happy to share it all with you, but I wanted to film a clip for posterity. I'll also get one of Mike. Yeah, there's Dad. There's almost Dad. Say, hey, Dad. I'm doing an evil thing, catching you off guard. It's a weird shot because I can't move my arm right now because they have me on a penicillin drip. So I have to keep this arm straight or it sets off this crazy alarm. Again, tip of the iceberg, guys. But I'm sure it will only, you know, stack up in whatever ways equally with everyone else's birthing stories. There's no, you know what I mean? There's nothing especially tragic or an emergency or anything like that, but I need to talk about it. Hey guys. So, I'm finally getting a chance to sit down and actually film this. And it is now Wednesday, October 7th. Which means that it has been a week since that last clip. And that clip was at like 10:45 or something like that. Yeah, that was 30 minutes, I want to say, before we started pushing, something like that. I don't remember, but just for the sake of the timeline, before I kind of jump back and talk about the actual whole situation, we ended up having Simon at 12:05. So I pushed for 25 minutes. It was really funny because my actual OB was on call that night, but her shift was supposed to be over at noon. And so they're like, well, we think that your doctor is going to be able to deliver your baby, but you know, it's going to be cutting it really close. And so it was like almost a joke at that point where I was just so eager to have her deliver my baby that, you know, we started, you know, we got everything like effaced and dilated in time so that we could start pushing, and, you know, didn't even have to make her run but 2 minutes over her normal shift. So yeah, that was the end. Let me start from the beginning. Oh, by the way, I want to start by saying that I am not trying to, like, I don't feel obligated to share this. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, Kackie, you should just be with your baby. By the way, that sound that you hear, that kind of like soft roaring sound is his snoo. He's asleep right now. So no big deal. But I really wanted to record this because I'm forgetting it. And I want to like record it for myself. I was like, I need to write this down. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm a vlogger. I want to talk about it on camera because I want to have it kind of as a record for myself, because the experiences are so intense, but they fade really fast. So I want to go ahead and I wish I could have like talked like the whole time, but it would have been probably really hard to watch. So I also want to preface this by saying I am going to talk about the details of going into labor and my personal experience with it now, only having done it once. And I want to give anybody a trigger warning who is maybe about to go into like, you know, the birthing experience or anything like that, because what I'm gonna say is not gonna be helpful to you. It's gonna be how hard it was for me and how like intense and weird it was for me, which is not really something that I would have wanted to hear from someone else before I went into labor. You know, I was very prepared for the fact that it was going to be hard, but the only advice that I think that I could provide to anybody going into it is that you don't want to know too much, because you're going to have to take it moment by moment by moment. And so if you like knew what the whole thing was going to be like, it would probably just scare the snot out of you. So yeah, if that's where you're at and you're not just kind of like enjoying my story or comparing it to your story, then I invite you not to be traumatized. So it was the 29th, and we were about to sit down and watch that fated debate begin. And when it was, yeah, it was 7:15, so it really hadn't started yet. And I went to go to the bathroom. And when I did, I felt something happen in a place inside where you don't pee from. It was just something else, and it went sploosh. And I was like, that was weird, you know, but I was like, I'm 36 weeks and 1 day. I had had a prenatal massage the day before that. And they were like, do you want to make another appointment for your next treatment? And I was like, I'm 36 weeks pregnant, guys. I don't know what my schedule looks like, you know, who can predict these things? Yeah. And as you guys saw in the first clip, I was like, I should go get some baby wipes. It's the last thing we really need, you know? And so I felt that sploosh, and then I was just kind of walking around, and I like sat down. We had just ordered a pizza, and I was like, Mike, liquid's coming out, but I don't really know if it's like the thing. It's a thing, but it's not the thing. And then like I like start Googling it, Dr. Google, you know, and I'm like, okay, so how much really comes out when your water breaks? And they're like, sometimes it's just a trickle. And I'm like, that sounds like what's happening to me. And then I go to just kind of like, I put a maxi pad in because I was like, I don't know what's happening. And then I went to change my pants. All over the floor. And that was when I had the sitcom moment. People are always like, women's waters never actually break, you know, or like if they do, it's fairly uncommon. Usually they break your water once you're already like counting contractions and you're like in actual active labor, and the doctor, you know, takes something and like breaks your amniotic sac, you know. No, I had the cartoon water breaking scenario. And so I call and I get on the longest hold of my life with my my medical center, and they finally get back on the line, and she's like, hi, how can I help you? And I was like, I think my water just broke. And she's like, oh, who's your doctor? And I told her, and she's like, let me, oh, what's up, bud? they just make lots of noises. I've like had to really like adjust to the fact that they make tons of noises and most of them don't mean anything. But anyway, he's pooping. But yeah, so she pages my doctor, and then she gets back on the line and she goes, yeah, the doctor said go ahead and come on in, like come to labor and delivery. And I was like, okay, I guess this is it. Did we have a bag packed? No, fam. No, we did not. Meanwhile, Mike is rushing around the house. I'm rushing around the house. I'm leaking amniotic fluid everywhere. We're just trying to like think ahead of like what we need. We're like grabbing baby clothes to bring the baby home, and they ended up being completely the wrong size. I ended up bringing, fortunately, like enough like pajamas and stuff like that. But I mean, I had literally gotten all of my nursing bras and nursing tanks in the mail the day before. Like it was really, really cutting it close. And so we get in the car. I'm feeling nothing. I'm feeling nothing. And I texted my mom and I was like, Mom, there is water coming out down there and I don't have any control over it. And she thought that I was like talking about like laughing at a joke about something that I could, you know, like I peed myself or something. And I was like, I call her from the car and I'm like, Mom, my water just broke. And she's like, oh shit. And because she wasn't planning on coming until like October 13th. And here it is, September 29th. Bless you, Per Monster. And so she's like, oh shit, like I need to, you know? And so yeah, she starts kind of making her new set of plans, and all of her Virgo alarms are going off. And so she gets off the phone with me. We go to the hospital, and again, I'm like able to walk myself in. I'm like, no big deal, because I'm not having really any contractions yet. I mean, I'm literally in there for the binary reason of like my water was not broken and now it's broken and I am leaking amniotic fluid everywhere. So like, I feel like I should be here. So I go in, they test me for coronavirus. Have you guys been tested for coronavirus before? It's special. That was my first time having the swab shoved up my nose, and I thought that it was really painful and inconvenient. Turns out the next 24 hours of my life, 12, 15, were gonna be a lot more painful and inconvenient than that. But at the time, I thought that was really painful and inconvenient. I was like, I think I, you know, like saw the abyss for a second, but I digress. I don't have coronavirus, so that's cool. But yeah. Then they lay me up in like a triage room essentially with Mike, and we're trying to watch those horrible debates. And they come in and they, you know, they've got this nurse checking me in, getting all of my information and everything. And they put an IV in my arm. I forget all the things that they did, but I had to be on first of all, I was complaining that the IV was annoying. Again, things were about to get a lot more annoying. I, you know, ended up with the IV in my arm for a very long time, and it didn't bother me at all after the fact. So yeah, they put an IV in my arm. It is like 8:30 by this point at night on Tuesday. And they have to put me on a penicillin drip because I am positive for strep B, and they didn't want the baby to get it. It's very normal. And so they're infusing that in my arm, and it's cold and it's uncomfortable, and they have to do like a loading dose of it and everything. And so then they decide to give me something called Cervidil. Cervidil is a thing that they insert in your hoo-ha. They insert it really, really high up. And well, first they tested the actual fluid itself to make sure it was amniotic fluid, and they're like, yes, you are you're staying, basically, like you're in pre-labor. And so the reason that they do the Cervidil is because like they checked my cervix, and they're like, you're dilated 1 centimeter, but your cervix is still crazy thick. Like basically it's two things. When you like are ready to start pushing, I learned this, is that your cervix has to be open, dilated to 10 centimeters, but it also has to be really, really thin, so that, you know, obviously the baby can get through. And so it was that they call that effacing, and I was like 20% effaced, and they were like, we need you at 100%, you know. And so this thing was supposed to help trigger contraction so that it would thin my cervix out. That was when the stuff started getting real. Like it was, you know, I was like, so this is gonna make me cramp, and they're like, yeah, it'll make you cramp. And I was like, okay, let's, you know, do some medicine or whatever. They put me on something. It was like Cervidil to something or whatever, like for pain. And then they also gave me like an anti-nausea with it. Hi, sweetie. And so that helped a little bit. And the thing it did do was make me super duper duper sleepy. And so I was doing this weird thing. No, you don't belong in the DockATot. No cats in the DockATot. And the thing that it did was make me fall asleep between contractions. So I would literally like have a contraction and then like I'd have, you know, a few minutes in between and I would pass out in between because of this drug, which was kind of a relief. But then I ended up having to go to the bathroom and they have you in all these ridiculous monitors. And so she actually gave me permission to like unplug my own monitors, stick them in my pocket, go to the bathroom, you know, come back, plug myself in. And I always had to say, I was always like, gray on the left, yellow on the right, because you're just kind of like woozy, you know, and you're like having to give yourself, you know, mental hooks to try and remember stuff. And well, that was when I went into the bathroom and I passed my mucus plug. Words are, they are evasive lately. So yeah, when that happened, the Cervidil fell out. And I was like, uh-oh, because they kept telling me, like, don't pull on it. And I was like, I didn't. I just went to the bathroom and it fell out. So I paged the nurse and I was like, my Cervidil fell out. She's like, okay, it was only in for like 6 hours. It was supposed to be there for 12. And we're not going to put it back in. We want to give you a little break because you're in a lot of pain. So then they put something in my cheek that was also supposed to help thin my cervix and get me contracting. And the medication, basically, that the pain medication that they had given me, we decided together was not strong enough. And so they put me on fentanyl. Fentanyl. Yeah, the thing that like kills people, kills addicts on the streets. I was terrified. I was like, oh my God. And it worked for about 5 minutes. And my pain just drilled straight through it. I mean, it was like it was nothing. It was like I had taken nothing. And I grabbed that barf bag and really thought I was gonna barf. And it was crazy how quickly the time was going by. Like it was already like 6 a.m. at this point. It was just crazy. Like every time I looked at the clock, it had jumped forward an hour and a half and I was like, ugh. Like just all the drugs were making me really sleepy and everything. And then, you know, making time fly, but also like I was just living in a land of like, of contraction pain. And I was sort of like half and half. Like, was I going to zen my way through them when they were happening, or was I going to just absolutely like let them take over my life? And honestly, it changed contraction to contraction. And so, you know, I tell them that I'm in all this pain and everything, and they come and they check my cervix again. And I'm dilated to 2 centimeters. Like, hours later, and I was just like, I'd been on all these drugs to stimulate these cramps and send me into labor. Not Pitocin yet. They told me even if like they had put me on Pitocin and if my cervix was that thick, it wouldn't have done anything. I still would have just been there for 3 days just trying to, they're like, we probably, you know, it just wouldn't work basically. And so then they decide, you know what, you're in so much pain, because I was dying. Every contraction that came, this is one of the things that I like want to put a fine point on, so that future Kackie remembers that the pain was so unreal. I was doubled over, and I was like, just every time a contraction came, it was, it's just so hard to explain. It hurt in like a transcendent way, in like a way that you're just like, if they don't find a way to solve this, I'm gonna die. You know? And I just like thought of all the women who do things without an epidural, and I was like, how? But they did keep telling me, they're like, since your water broke and you weren't in labor yet, your labor is going to be a lot more painful. So I don't know. I've only done it once, and this is what happened to me. So I don't know if there are people who, because they have their contractions slowly build, you know, on a schedule that aligns with their due date, whether their body cooperates and like it's, I don't want to say easier. The reason that labor is never compared to anything, people compare things to labor, is because it hurts and it's hard. I'm not gonna say anybody has like an easy labor experience, but they did say that my contractions would be especially crappy and painful because of the way that they had to not induce me because my water broke on its own, but at the same time, like, to just encourage it so that I wasn't just sitting there, I guess. Finally, they're telling me that I'm gonna be able to get an epidural at 2 centimeters. Like, they really wanted me to dilate more than that, but they bring me into a labor and delivery room so that they can do the epidural, and they tell me I'm like second in line. Being second in line is like not a big deal in any other situation in your life. Being second in line for an epidural is the worst second in line you could possibly be. They're like, it's probably gonna be like 30 minutes, and I was like, are you kidding me? What if I die between now and then? Like, and poor Mike is just sitting there watching me, like, every time. Standing up, walking around, sitting down, picking my butt up with my hands, like, so that, because just trying to contort myself into some kind of position where it hurt less. It was just panic. Like, I was like I said, I was taking absolutely moment to moment. Like, if someone had told me you need to do this for the next 3 hours, I probably just would have passed out. But it was like the fact that it was just you only had to handle the next one. Psychologically made it okay somehow, you know, because it was just all happening. Then the anesthesiologist comes in, probably my favorite person. By the way, my team was incredible. Incredible. They were the coolest. I had just some of the most capable people, and I will talk about that a little bit more afterwards, but the anesthesiologist comes in and she is all business, and I'm telling you, that's how I want an anesthesiologist to be. I do not want her to be joking around with me. I do not want her to be, you know, like, oh, how do you do the epidural. All business, knows what the heck's going on. Anesthesia is not a laughing matter. And so the very sweet nurse that was working with me, she goes, okay, the very, very important thing here is that, you know, yes, you're having really, really hard contractions right now, but you have to sit still while she's doing this. And I was like, okay. And I went somewhere else. I just went somewhere else. And when they would come, I would just like bear down in my brain, and I was like, and I managed to just sit there and be completely still through these like unbelievably excruciatingly painful contractions while she did this epidural. And I have no idea what it looks like. I just know that my back, all the stuff that they stuck to my back for the epidural, now my skin feels like a blistered sunburn, in that when you scratch it, it's euphoric, but only if you like do it really softly. If you were to do it too hard, you feel like you'd like make yourself bleed or something. It's not actually blistered, but like that's how it feels. I don't really know. Either way, she does a whole bunch of poking on my back and stuff and tapes a bunch of stuff to me and puts me on this epidural drip, and very soon the entire lower half of my body goes numb, and I'm just like, all right, let's do this, let's have a baby. You know, like, it just sucked that you know, there are plenty of people who go to the doctor who have, you know, their contractions building, who are effaced and are dilating normally, and so they're able to get an epidural far sooner. But they didn't want to do it to me when I was sitting there with, you know, with 2 centimeters dilated. Well, turns out my body, they told me my body did a pretty good job of taking over after the 2 different drugs they gave me to help my cervix open up. And so here comes my doctor after I've got my epidural and everything, and she's like, hey, you know, gets to meet my husband and all that stuff. She like feels in there and she goes, you're at 8.5 centimeters. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I'd say let's give it 30 minutes and then we'll come back and push. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, we're gonna have a baby. And I was like, okay. With, again, like 20 minutes, 25 minutes before her shift was technically up. I mean, she was gonna stay the course, but regardless, it was just really funny because I was like, you know, I wanted you to deliver my baby because you have been the one who's been taking care of me this whole time. I guess that would be 11:40 in the morning on Wednesday, September 30th. They put my feet in the stirrups and they taught me how to push. And when you push, you grab the back of your own thighs and you put your chin on your chest and you push as hard as you can. And in between the contractions, you're actually able to like have a conversation, which is kind of funny. And so like, you know, like, do you want a mirror? And I was like, do I want a mirror? They're like, yeah, you want a mirror. And I was like, okay. So I got a mirror just in the beginning, because he started coming really fast, and Mike saw it in the mirror too. And you see this little, the top of his little head with hair on it. He's like, oh, there's a lot of hair on this kid's head. Mike's like, I want to see. And I learned pretty quickly. What? He's asleep. He just make a lot of noise. I learned pretty quickly that when you're pushing, you don't want to relax completely in between contractions, and it is still, even with the epidural, because they told me not to punch the epidural button, because you do want to feel something so that you know you have control over, you know what I mean? Otherwise, if it's like completely numb, it could make it the pushing last way longer. You know, I just was like, all right, we're gonna feel pain a little bit, you know, feel pressure definitely, and I could feel him like bearing down, and so I was aware enough that I could manage my pushing and manage kind of like the muscles I was using, which was nice. And so as I'm pushing, like, you realize that in between contractions you still need to kind of hold your muscles down there, like a little bit pushed, I guess, so that everything does, you don't lose your progress almost. So you're like push, 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 and then you have to kind of keep everything a little bit tensed so that it stays, and then you wait for the next contraction. We had, you know, the next few contractions or whatever, and she's like, this baby's coming so fast. Like, it was, she left the room to scrub in, and the nurse was having me push, and then she goes, oh, okay, stop pushing. And I was like, why? She's like, because I can't catch the baby and the baby's gonna come out. And I was like, no way. She's like, yeah, you're doing a really, really good job. And he's also tiny. He's, you know, he's 36 weeks, 2 days, was what his, like, you know, gestational age was. And so, you know, his head is smaller than like if he'd gone to full term, probably. But anyway, so the doctor gets there, and then they have me keep pushing. I think I counted 7 contractions, and he was out. And because he's so tiny, my mom told me, she's like, when I had you, I was 8 pounds. She's like, there's the head, and you think once you got the head out, you're good to go. No, there's the shoulders. And that was just not the case with him. And so it was like, I got the head out, and they just went, whoop, and they just pulled him out. Oh my God, guys. I think this is the part where I get emotional telling you about this. You have seen all of these people on different TV shows or in real life or whatever giving birth, and there's a baby that comes out and whatever, and I've watched lots of people's like birthing vlogs and stuff, and I'm like, what's that gonna feel like? First of all, as soon as they got him out, I went, yeah! I was like, we did it! I was so happy. It just like washed over me. I was like, yes, yes. And then Mike cut his little cord, and then it just washed over me, where I was like, I've watched so many people do this and the baby comes out, but that one right there, that one's mine. That little purple thing that they're wiping all that crap off of, that one's mine. And then begins the symphony. I mean, these people are like a well-oiled machine. I've never seen anything like it. As soon as the baby is born, people start, I mean, they just jump into action. It's like this elaborate dance where they're all taking care of 15 different things. I'm having my perineum stitched back together because I did tear. And they place the baby on my chest. They're running around doing 800 million different things. And before I even know who I'm talking to, in the first 5 minutes after birth, I have a lactation consultant teaching me. Look at me. Look at this. Look, I'm so excited talking about this. I'm like flushing. Yeah, don't mind me. Hormones are wild. I would do this probably anyway, but it's just such like, I don't know, it's just such a fun topic to talk about. Anyway, so yeah, I have this lactation consultant literally next to me. She doesn't even tell me she's a lactation consultant, nothing. She just cuts to the chase and teaches me how to get him latched. And let me tell you, the latching face is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. The baby goes, ah. so funny. It's so funny because they actually can't see. They only see kind of like blur and like light and dark, you know, for like the first few months of their life, and it just kind of steadily improves. But yeah, and so they're kind of just going on like this rooting instinct and smell. And when you kind of like touch him on the nose with the nipple, he goes, ah! It's the fucking cutest thing I've ever seen. Ah, it's so cute. And so yeah, they got him nursing right away. Really, really good, deep, strong latch. And I would be visited by another lactation consultant, this woman, Donna. Ugh. Everything everybody says about a lactation consultant changing their life, like, it's true. I get it now. You get a good one and it's just amazing. So yeah, this first girl, she taught me so much in 20 minutes. It was like a crash course. She's like, okay, you want this deep latch and you want to make sure that his head is angled this certain way. You want to support him this way with your fingers this way, support his body this way. And I mean, she taught me a bunch of stuff that now, again, I can't remember what she told me and what Donna told me or whatever, but they're on the same team. And they would visit me, you know, throughout my stay. So that was a godsend because it got him breastfeeding immediately out of the gate. And apparently that is something that is very common practice in a lot of hospitals, is to do it like in the first 5 minutes. And they did. And it was very, very effective. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I am very, very grateful to all of my doctors on the team and everything. It was like I said, it was a well-orchestrated symphony. So then they moved me to the post-birth room or whatever, recovery room. And, you know, I've got my baby and he's very new. And as he's doing skin on skin with his dad, he's just going, with every single breath. And they were kind of worried that his lungs weren't developed. And we were like, okay. And they had given, that was another thing they gave me. They gave me a steroid shot in my hip because they wanted to develop his lungs. They wanted to get the surfactant going in his lungs. So I'll probably remember other things like that, you know, probably later even. But anyway, they were worried about that, but it didn't end up being a big deal. Like everything kind of caught up, and he was, you know, good little sleeper and everything. And we were almost out, guys. We were almost out of the hospital. Okay. We had, you know, a tough first night or whatever, because I was just feeding so much, but the nursery is great. Let them take your baby to the nursery. It's fantastic. Get a little bit of sleep. I was actually having a ton of trouble sleeping in the beginning because, like I said, you don't realize that they make tons of noise in their sleep. And I mean, they breathe really loud, especially preemies, and they sigh and they tick and they fumble and they whatever, and every single sound you think the worst, and it'll just make you crazy. And so I just barely got any sleep. Even when I could get sleep, I felt like I couldn't get sleep, kind of thing, because I was like, every single sound I heard, I was like, is he okay? You know, because you just had a baby, you know, and I just wasn't prepared for that. So I was constantly asking the nurses permission for things. I was like, can I play like really loud white noise in my ear so that I hear him when he yells, but I don't hear him when he just makes the little ticks and like suckle sounds in his sleep, because I am gonna lose my mind. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Everybody there, like, I asked them 800 million different questions. Every time they had the greatest, like, most helpful answers for me and everything. And so the night nurse, this woman, Kelly, I loved all of my nurses, but Kelly was my favorite. She was amazing. She had 5 children and she was full of stories. She was so funny. She made me laugh all the time. But she comes in and she goes, I have some bad news. And I look and she's got Simon on a cart with blue lights all around him. He looked like a baby glowworm. And I'm sure that that's not unfamiliar to a lot of people. Jaundice is very, very common, but he had a wicked case of jaundice, and he was way in the risk range category, whatever. Had to switch memory cards. So yeah, we ended up staying in the hospital. We were there Tuesday night to, you know, when my water broke. Wednesday, I had him. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we finally got out on Sunday. You have to stay 48 hours after you have the baby, so we would have gotten out at Friday the earliest, and we had to stay 2 additional days because of his jaundice numbers, his bilirubin numbers. Bilirubin is just a protein that has to be processed by the liver, and their gestational, like not gestational, their actual age in hours, it lowers their risk as they go, but he was just so high, we just had to wait it out basically. And they have to keep them on these blue lights with these little goggles on. And let's see, how long has it been since he ate? I've been using this Glow Baby app, and it is so great. It's been 2 hours, so he'll eat soon. So yeah, the whole time that I was there, I mean, Mike was sleeping on this fold-out chair. That was so awful, and I mean, we were both so uncomfortable, but I mean, it's the hospital. It's not like we were uncomfortable because we were being mistreated. It's just the nature of the hospital. But this woman, Donna, who was my lactation consultant, she was coming around pretty often and helping me, like, you know, learn how to breastfeed, and I got pretty freaking good at it. My boobs are huge. It's freaking crazy. But colostrum is like the first thing that happens before you get your proper milk, and it's like, they call it, you know, liquid gold, nectar of the gods kind of stuff, and it's just full of tons and tons and tons of nutrients that the baby needs. But it's also really hard to get it out of your boobs, and so you have to kind of massage your boobs the entire time that you're breastfeeding to just like make sure you help him like suck it out. But then eventually you switch to your regular milk and he can do it himself. Because the boob bruising was real. And doing that in the middle of the night every 2 hours was just, it was a lot. But yeah, we did move past that. I also apparently have just like an abundance of milk. They taught me how to pump, and then they came in, and every single time a nurse would come in to pick up my colostrum in order to go and refrigerate it for me, they would go, wow. And I was just like, I am like really good at this. Like, I'm basically a breastfeeding superhero. So, or lactating, I guess, superhero. Because yeah, when I would just pump so much colostrum, and they were like, this is incredible. So he ended up, you know, well fed and all that. And meanwhile, my mom has been driving to Austin, and she got, you know, her COVID test and everything like that. And she's just kind of nesting in my house on our behalf, unboxing all of the amazing things that we hadn't had the chance to unbox yet because we didn't think that the baby was going to come that soon and all that stuff. And so yeah, she was just grocery shopping for us and stuff. And so, oh my god, long story long, we finally get out on Sunday and we bring him home. And the first night was so hard. It was so hard putting him in the snoo. The snoo is this is his, it's a smart bassinet, and it makes noises, and it moves, and it senses if he gets fussy, and it will actually move more and make more noises and like basically calm him. I have also decided, sorry guys, baby is mine. I'm not showing his face anytime soon. He's mine. And these are just my instincts, and my instincts say he's mine. So he's nobody else, it's just me. And so yeah, we had a really, he nursed and got changed 7 times in the first night. 11 hours, 7 feedings, 7 diaper changes. And then the next day, they send you to the pediatrician. And so we went and saw the pediatrician, who was one of the pediatricians who had visited us in the hospital and checked on Simon when we were there. So I was like, oh, it's you, this is great. And so we had a list of questions that we had written on our phone to ask her, because we were like, there's no way once we get in there we're gonna remember all this stuff. And it was like temperature in the house, like my main concern was fixing his day to night, because a lot of babies are born nocturnal, and that was very much him. Like, he was just like, ding, like middle of the night. I was like, great. And you know, just trying to nurse him back to sleep, kind of, you know, when he was fussy and stuff. And my question for her was, I was like, cluster feeding, like, you know, they cluster feed their second night usually, but he cluster fed on his first night, which is like when they just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Like, they cry out every like hour and a half to be fed, and then when you do feed them, they just gulp and gulp and gulp. But like it was with colostrum, which is why my boobs were so bruised, because I was sitting there the whole time. So anyway, yeah, she goes, try to calm him other ways and spread his feedings out to every 3 hours in the night. Like, see if you can get to that, because A, it'll wear your nipples out. And that's really actually bad for your milk, and we want to keep you lactating. But B, sleep is also super important for your milk, and we want to keep you lactating, kind of thing. The second night, like with her permission, I think that was the biggest thing, was I just wanted her permission to be able to, because she's like, there's other ways to soothe the baby than to nurse him, and he doesn't need to eat every hour and a half. Not right now. Not anymore. You know what I mean? He was healthy enough. He lost 6% from his birth weight, and I was like, after all that feeding, I was honestly pissed he wasn't 8 pounds by the time he got in there to the pediatrician. But regardless, she basically gave me permission, and you know, said like, just, you know, 3 hours is perfectly fine. So the next night, this would be 2 nights ago, I had actually downloaded the app for the snoo this time and told him he was a preemie, learned how to use it, napped him in it during the day, like read the articles and stuff like that, instead of just like putting the kid in the snoo. And it, you know, getting him used to it, developing some kind of positive associations with it when he's already going to be asleep during the day anyway. He just loves to sleep. And he's just growing a lot, you know, so it's like he eats a ton, and then he's like awake for a little while, and then he sleeps a lot, you know, because he's just trying to grow. But anyway, so the second night, yes, we were blessed enough that I got him down to, between feedings, between like his last feeding before he went to bed and his first feeding, like it was like between 10, he fed at like 10 p.m. and then he fed again at 7 p.m. Between that, we had only 3 feedings. So would that be 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in 9 hours, he had 3 feedings. So we managed to get him basically 3 hours right. He likes to party at 12:30 though. That's like his thing. He gets real fussy, wants to stay up at 12:30. So we just kind of have to do a little bit of extra work, put him in his snoo swaddle, get him used to it in the middle of the night, you know, instead of just zipping him up in there and letting him go, because I was just able to like lay him down in the middle of the day. He just, no problem. But yeah, at night, he gets his fussy and everything. Plus, laying him down right after he nurses, he loves to, because he won't burp. The kid won't burp. I don't get it. Like, you know, and I fed him with a bottle and he'll burp, but like they don't really burp very much when they drink breast milk, or like straight from the breast. But this kid, it'll be 45 minutes later and he'll just be like, like milk, you know? And so they told me, they're like, he's on his back, he's, you know, he's in a sleep sack, he's strapped down. And they also taught me like some sick swaddles in the hospital, but we haven't had to even do that, because there's no colic risk until they actually hit their due date. So we're still like, you know, weeks from that. 3 weeks from that. But you know, swaddles for the sake of like calming. Read Harvey Karp's book. It's great. Donna, my lactation consultant, reinforced all of it. I watched her roll him into like a football shape and swing him on her arm, and he just like, I watched his eyes go into REM sleep, and I was like, well, that was freaking impressive. So it all works. But anyway, the snoo, he and the snoo get along really, really well. And so it's now been 2 nights of him basically just waking up every 3 hours. And I was setting an alarm. That was another thing that was really anxious for me, was it's kind of like when you're trying to wake up for a flight and you're scared you won't wake up, and so you end up waking up every 5 minutes or like never really going to sleep. And that was how I felt when I was trying to wake up to feed him every 2 hours. I was just like, oh, you know, I gotta, you know, wake up. And because you have to wake him up, especially when he was in the blue lights, he would just sleep forever because he was just cuddled up and warm. So now he wakes me up, which is nice, and it's almost always somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 hours apart, so it shakes out. Donna was like, don't try not to freak out about it being 2 to 3 hours. She's like, get 8 to 12 feedings in per 24 hours. Sometimes he'll feed twice inside of 2 hours, just like let it happen, you know, he's gonna get hungry when he gets hungry. And she's just like, you know, make sure it's 8 to 12 within 24 hours. She goes, for the first couple of weeks, and then if he's putting on weight normally, you just feed him on demand as needed, whatever, like, you know, everything kind of lightens up. But the breastfeeding got really, really easy when my official real milk came in. I remember the first time I pumped after my milk came in, because usually it kind of like just draws the colostrum out of your nipple, and this was like spraying. And I mean, I was just filling stuff up. By the way, Hallie, my friend who sent me that amazing box and everything, she's a breastfeeding goddess, and I call her the boob whisperer, because every time I have a question about like cadence and pacing and trying to make sure that my supply matches the demand and stuff like that, if I'm pumping versus feeding, blah blah blah, she's my girl. Like she's got answers for everything. So don't worry about me there. I'm super covered, but Mike does keep joking that he's gonna take me to the farmer's market. He's like, oh, we're sitting on a gold mine. So yeah, my confidence is like, okay, so first of all, my confidence is so built in terms of breastfeeding. Just the fact that my body just like jumped right into gear on it, and the fact that it's like really easy now because it's just milk and he can just drink it himself and I don't have to work that hard. It makes it enjoyable to feed him. Like, it's just fun, and I never ever 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 in a million years thought I would feel that way. You guys saw me in the last vlog. I was like, it scares the hell out of me. Breastfeeding scares the hell out of me. I am very, very weirded out by it, and you know, all this stuff. And then as soon as you do it, especially because he was underweight, he was born like a little over 6 pounds, you just know that you're giving him the nutrition he needs to fatten up and be healthy and, like, you know, be a really robust baby. And there's kind of just something incredible about that. I don't know, it's so freaking cool. I don't know, I read all of these things. That account Peanut on Instagram, I understand it helps a lot of people, but for me, all it did was stoke fear. I was like, God, I had no idea so many negative things were possible. Good grief. I had to stop following them because I was like, there's just so many horrible things that could happen. Why did I didn't need to know any of this. I was afraid I wasn't gonna bond immediately, you know, with the kid. Like, you have all these fears, and I had fear of, like, you know, resenting like my time being my life change. No, I saw him and I fell in love. I spent the first 3 days in the hospital, you guys, just crying. But like crying, like, you know, I would just be sitting there and I would like think about his nose, you know, and I would just start crying. Or like, I don't know, you have all these moments where, and it's, what it is it's like a hormonal emotional discharge. It's just, you basically went through the gauntlet. You really did. Like, the actual labor process, I'm sitting there on the phone with my mother just being like, Mom, I've crossed a new threshold of what I thought I was capable of. I think that I and every woman who have ever done this deserves a trophy, because you learn something about yourself going through labor. You're like, wow, I did that. Like, that was really gnarly, and I did it, and I have a baby now. And there's just something about it where I don't know, you just cross over some strange, I'm not trying to gatekeep on pregnancy. I'm not just like, hey, you don't know, you don't know. But once you do it, you're just like, wow. Wow, women are amazing. But anyway, yeah, I definitely, like, there was a lot of time spent on that feeling of just being like, yeah, I'm having a hard time, but did you see that? Did you see what I just did? Did you see that? Because I'll tell you about it. You were there, I'll still tell you about it, you know, because it was so hard, and I was so proud of myself. I was just like, I did that. But anyway, so I definitely, absolutely head over heels in love with this child. He is the most perfect creature I've ever seen in my entire life. He's the best human ever. So I am so excited to be a mom. more than I ever could have imagined. It's just something that I wouldn't have known until I was here. Like, I knew I would probably be into it, but like, I'm so freaking into him. He's so cool. And there was a point where I was taking a shower. Thank God I have been able to take a good amount of showers. When I was in the hospital, and I was just like, it was like a moment of like crystalline thought. Who knows if it was like, you know, truly crystalline. It was definitely, you know, influenced by hormones, like most things in my life right now. Like postpartum freaking migraine. That's a new thing. Didn't know that was a thing, but it's a thing. But yeah, I was like in the shower and I'm like washing my hair and I was like, you know, I was just doing my life, 33 years old, thinking, well, you know, I guess this is what life is. This is cool. Let's just keep doing this. I don't hate this. I have purpose. This is fun, you know? And then I realized that 33 is actually really young, and that I'm really excited that I have the rest of my life to be a mom. And the way that I put it to my mom is I was like, I really thought I was 33 and about to retire as a human. And I said, now I realize my life just started. My life just started. He's the coolest, y'all. And Mike's doing really well too. He definitely did not adjust to the sleep schedule the way that I did. I have the hormones built in, you know, and like my body just immediately was like, you have to feed a kid every 2 to 3 hours. And so even when they would take him to the nursery, I would wake up every 2 to 3 hours to feed. I was like, where's my baby? Where's my baby? I don't want to make this too freaking long. I do want to show you guys kind of where I'm at a week postpartum, since I showed you guys a bump date in every single video. So let's see here. There's what remains of my bump, but yeah, so that is what my belly looks like right now. I have about 10 pounds on me more than I had before I was pregnant. I think a lot of it is breast milk because my boobs are huge, but I think in another video, if you guys are curious, I would love to share kind of my like, oh my God, you need this. All of the like really incredible things and gadgets and stuff that has made my life so doable lately. He's asleep. He's just making noise. I mean, now that it's like, you know, I'm kind of on the other side of a lot of it, there are things that people recommended to me that I'm just like, thank you. And then there's also stuff that I found on my own that I'm just like, I need to tell someone about this. I'll never change. I'm always gonna be like that. I'm always gonna evangelize about the things that I love. But my mom being here has been really, really nice. She stays on top of all of our laundry. She cooks us meals. Like, it's been so nice. She's probably gonna stay here for a couple of weeks. And you know, I feel pretty equipped right now in the newborn phase. When he's doing a whole lot of like daily activity and stuff like that, I might hire a nanny to kind of help me out a little bit. Because Mike's binary, he has to be full-time. You know, he can't just like, I'm gonna go back to work part-time. Like and he's the reason that we have health insurance. So I'm not gonna criticize that. I have a more flexible schedule, but I also think that like I just kind of want to play it by ear and see what I'm able to accomplish after the first like month when Mike goes back and everything like that, and see, you know, because it's pretty easy to just park a newborn in like a cool chair. Like we have this little chair that like swings and stuff like that, and he just sleeps. And if I can kind of plan around him and, you know, get videos filmed and stuff like that, like that's fine. Like, he's sleeping right now. It's not a big deal. But everything could change, and it's going to change, and eventually it's going to completely change, you know, because he's going to be like up and around and talking and stuff like that. And I will need, you know, help. I think at like 18 months, we'll probably put him in some kind of like Montessori preschool or something like that. But in the meantime, I'm just chilling, loving, hanging out with this little poop fart. He is actually, we call him our little tree frog because everything that he does is it's just so small. And I know I shouldn't love it, but I do. I love the startle reflex. It's my favorite thing in the world. They go, and you stick all their limbs out and go, they fall back in. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here because I just wanted to get the story to you guys and tell his story. But we are all happy and healthy and just absolutely head over heels in love over here at my residence. So yeah, I will try and check in with you guys again soon, and let me know if you are interested in some, I don't know, birth and postpartum essentials. Postpartum and, you know, newborn essentials that I have just been loving. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm glad I got the chance to actually talk to you guys. I miss you. I love you guys, and I'll see you as soon as I can. Bye.